Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating story. It's about digital infrastructure, geopolitics, and specifically India's big move towards what they're calling digital self-reliance.
Yeah, it centers on formally cutting off imported internet bandwidth from Bangladesh. A pretty significant shift.
Exactly. So we've got government transcripts, technical analyses. Our mission today is to really understand this conflict. How did cooperation turn into, well, something else entirely?
Right. And what was India's technical response? What were the economic consequences, the strategic fallout for both countries? That's what we're digging into.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Normally, internet infrastructure, especially these big undersea cables, it's kind of a zone of cooperation, right? Shared pipes usually mean lower latency, faster speeds for everyone.
That's the usual logic.
Yeah.
And India and Bangladesh, they were initially on that path.
So what was the original plan?
Well, the initial goal was pretty practical from India's side. Connect their northeastern states, places like Guwahati, Imphal, Arunachal Pradesh.
Right, areas that sometimes face connectivity challenges.
Precisely. And the most logical connection point, geographically and technically, was the subsea cable landing station in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh.
Shortest route, fastest data transfer for that region. Makes sense.
It did. It promised low-latency, reliable internet for Northeast India. Seemed like a win-win.
But, and here's the twist, right? This is where cooperation apparently hit a wall.
Yeah, the source material points to a key moment. Bangladesh's advisor, Muhammad Yunus, reportedly objected. He didn't want India to have that easy access.
Why? What was the reasoning there?
It seems rooted in competitive strategy. The analyses suggest he saw this link less as shared infrastructure and more as, well, something that might undercut Bangladesh's own goal.
Which was?
To become a major regional internet hub. Control the data flow in the Bay of Bengal. Allowing India easy access through Cox's Bazar, apparently, was seen as weakening that ambition.
So controlling that access point meant they could potentially dictate terms.
That seems to have been the thinking. Now, the source we reviewed uses a very strong word here, blackmail.
Right, I saw that. Is that fair? I mean, isn't demanding better terms or trying to secure regional advantage just, well, aggressive infrastructure politics? Was it really seen as malicious?
That's a really important question. The source definitely frames it from a perspective of frustration, maybe justification for India's later actions. It paints Yunus's objection as an attempt to use this digital link as leverage, apply pressure.
So whether you call it blackmail or hardball negotiation.
The message received in Delhi was clear. Relying on a neighbor for critical connectivity created a vulnerability, a potential choke point.
And that perception, that risk was enough.
Apparently so. It forced this strategic pivot towards what they termed digital self-reliance. Mandatory self-reliance, really.
Okay, so India decides it needs to control its own destiny here. What was the specific counter move?
It was very precise, very clear. The source pinpoints October 21st, 2025. BSNL.
That's the state-owned telecom provider in India.
Correct. BSNL completely stopped importing that 10 gigabits per second of internet bandwidth from Bangladesh. Just cut it off.
Wow, so a total detachment, not reducing but eliminating the import.
Exactly, a full stop. This meant the entire connectivity for the Northeast had to shift, basically overnight, onto India's own domestic networks.
That sounds like a huge undertaking. They must have been preparing for this.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It required massive prior investment and preparation, backup systems, new infrastructure. They had to be ready.
And the source mentions new submarine landing stations within India.
Yes, 3 key ones are highlighted: Chennai, Mumbai, and, critically for this situation, a station at Diga.
Okay, Chennai and Mumbai are major hubs already, connecting India west and south. Why Dia specifically?
Diga's location is key. It's on the Bay of Bengal coast, much closer geographically to the northeast than Chennai or Mumbai.
Ah, so using Diga dramatically shortens the domestic path the data needs to travel before hitting international cables.
Precisely. It optimizes the route, minimizes internal transit, and crucially provides that low latency they were originally seeking through Bangladesh, but now via a domestic route.
And having 3 stations, Chennai, Mumbai, Dia, that's about redundancy too, right? Not just alternative paths, but protection against, well, anything.
Absolutely. It's multi-layered strategic logic. It covers different geographical risks. Think about the Bay of Bengal. Cyclones are a real threat.
So if a cyclone, say, damaged the landing facilities near Diga,
The traffic automatically reroutes. It goes inland through the core network backbone, probably to Chennai or Mumbai, and connects out from there.
so it's disaster-proofing. against natural events and political pressure.
Exactly. The Northeast is now, according to these sources, 100% reliant on India's own network infrastructure, independent of foreign routes for this specific connection.
What about the really remote areas? Fiber doesn't go everywhere. The source mentioned satellites.
Yeah, that's the final layer. For areas where fiber is just too difficult or expensive to lay, they're extending network coverage using satellite internet.
So a combination of subsea cables, terrestrial fiber, and satellite. A layered approach for total coverage.
It shows a commitment not just to securing the main pathways, but to reaching even the most remote corners. Total digital sovereignty seems to be the goal.
Let's dive into the tech a bit more. For you listening, why do these undersea cables matter so much for speed?
Well, fundamentally, they carry the vast majority, like over 95% of all international data. They follow the most direct routes possible underwater.
Shorter distance equals faster travel time.
Right, and that leads to low latency. Latency is the key metric here. It's the delay, the time it takes for a data packet to go from your device to a server and back again, measured in milliseconds.
Okay, and the numbers here are interesting. The old route via Bangladesh had latency fluctuating between 45 and 100 milliseconds. Is that range normal?
That fluctuation itself can be an issue, but the new direct domestic connection via DIGA is expected to bring that down significantly to a much more stable 35 to 45 milliseconds.
So potentially cutting latency by 10 meters, maybe even up to 60 meters at the higher end? What does that feel like for an end user?
It's noticeable. Think about video calls. That 10-millisecond improvement can be the difference between a smooth conversation and that annoying lag where you accidentally talk over each other.
Okay. And for things like online gaming or financial transactions?
Even more critical, milliseconds literally matter there. So it's a real qualitative jump in reliability and perceived speed. Fewer hops, fewer potential failure points compared to the old route that likely involved terrestrial crossings too.
Right, those international terrestrial cables, ITCs, crossing land borders add complexity.
They do. More points of potential failure, more equipment, generally higher and less stable latency. The direct subsea connection via DIA is just cleaner, more consistent.
And perhaps the biggest point, security.
Definitely. Beyond speed, the network is now inherently more secure and reliable from a strategic standpoint. That external digital pressure, the potential leverage we talked about,
Yeah.
it just can't impact service in the same way anymore.
India has effectively insulated this part of its network from the geopolitics of its neighbors, at least in this specific instance.
That seems to be the outcome, yes.
Now, this security game for India obviously came at a cost to Bangladesh. What was this deal actually worth to them financially?
The source material is quite specific here. Before this shutdown, Bangladesh was earning somewhere between 5 and 10 million US dollars annually from India for this bandwidth.
Okay, $5 to $10 million a year. That sounds significant.
It is, especially as it flowed primarily through their local international terrestrial cable operators. It was essentially revenue based on their geographic location.
And now that revenue is gone.
Zeroed out completely, which is a direct economic hit.
How does that loss fit into Bangladesh's overall digital economy? I mean, is it a huge blow or more symbolic?
It's certainly a substantial loss, particularly for the operators involved. And remember, their goal to be a regional hub. Losing this income and the relationship souring like this directly undermines that ambition. They tried to leverage their position and, well, it seemed to have backfired.
Triggering this major defensive investment from India.
An expensive lesson, perhaps, in infrastructure politics. And there's an asymmetry here we shouldn't forget.
What's that?
While Bangladesh lost revenue selling bandwidth to India, the source notes that Bangladesh itself imports a huge amount of bandwidth from India.
Oh, interesting. How much?
Their total consumption is around 8,500 gigabits per second. And historically, about half of that, roughly 50%, has been imported from India.
So Bangladesh remains quite reliant on India for its own connectivity, even as this specific export deal ended.
That underlying reliance remains. And this wasn't actually the first time India stopped imports. There was a temporary halt back in February 2020.
Right, the source mentioned that. Imports were restarted later for Tripura state after a request from Bangladesh.
Yes.